I thought that our Reanimate Mirror was actually really interesting. And Rug Delver versus Rug Delver, this is a slog.
It is.
Now, normally these decks, very aggressive, very fast, but because they're playing with essentially the same set of cards, give or take a few cards here or there, what usually you see happen is a true, long, drawn-out brawl.
Right. Both players have access to 4 Wastelands. Both players have access to 4 Force of Will, 4 Brainstorm, 4 Ponder, Lightning Bolt, Spell Pierces, Forked Bolts, Thought Scours, and of course the creatures are going to be crashing into each other. Rug Mirrors generally go down to Tarmogoyf's game 1. Almost always it's about the Tarmogoyf advantage and who can get it.
Matthew Costa does have 1 Scavenging Ooze that puts him a possibility of 1 bigger creature than his opponent.
Yes.
And after sideboard, Matthew Costa also has access to 4 Submerge and a Life from the Loam, as well as Mind Harness to win over the Tarmogoyf Wars. On the other side of the table, we see Gilded Drake, Submerge, and Scavenging Ooze. I do think that overall, Matthew Costa has a slight edge here, but when I say slight, I'm talking 60-40 for this whole match.
Right, at the most.
Now that's, of course, not counting just the simple play skill of these players. Matt Costa, an accomplished player. Josh Hartwell, his name sounds familiar to me, but I'm going to just see if we have anything on record for him. I don't recognize his name like I do Matt Costa's. Opening with a Volcanic Island. In case any of you out there are wondering, these are stifleless builds of Rug Delver, so it's just Wasteland for the mana deprivation.
And Matt Costa, turn 1 Volcanic Island, and a Ponder. And Josh Hartwell draws his card, and we'll see what he has in store for us here.
I do think Josh Hartwell might be just a local player. Just a quick check. If we have his name right, unfortunately his name is really hard to read. The way he wrote it on the deck register form. If we've got that name right, I don't see anything on our deck database for him in the last several years. So that's Ponder from Josh Hartwell.
And as these players take their time for the first few turns of the game, I'm going to read to you some of the players who are doing well in this tournament, just going by the top of the standings. Some of the XOs include Max Brown, Matt Costa, of course, as he's on camera, Reed Duke, Stefan Ellsworth, Greg Giard, Rodney Hannigan, Darwin Castle, like you said.
Ponder from Matt Costa. Hartwell, a New Jersey player. New Jersey not so far away from here. It's not a hop, skip, and a jump, but it's maybe a hop and a skip and a jump.
Yeah, about that. About 3, maybe a little more hours away, depending on what part of Jersey, between 3 and 5.
Wasteland takes out Josh Hartwell's Volcanic.
Misty Rainforest for Josh, and he will crack that. Interesting to see no stifles between both of these decks. It it used to be a mainstay of Rug Delver, 4 of, but it recently fallen out of favor. That's the thing about that card, though. Once people start playing around it, start adapting to it, it often becomes correct to just cut it from your deck. And then when the moment is ready, add it back again. The moment is right.
Goose from Josh Hartwell. Matt Costa casts Brainstorm.
One, two, 3. Fork Bolt, Spell Pierce, Nimble Mongoose drawn for Matt.
The Scalding turn in play makes this brainstorm a premium brainstorm. Puts a Spell Pierce back along with another card that I couldn't quite make out.
And he'll say go. Draws a card. Josh Hartwell, 3 out of 7 in his graveyard. Getting towards threshold. Wasteland, 4 out of 7.
In for 1, Searing Touch with buyback.
For 0 mana.
Another Goose.
Yeah, and unless Matt Costa can resolve a Tarmogoyf here, those are going to be putting pressure on him very soon.
I think Matt's a little farther ahead in the threshold race. He might be able to just get a Goose down that's bigger.
Yeah, that too. That'll buy him a few turns.
Josh, of course, can catch right back up. Matt Costa sacrificing that at the end of the turn. I think we might see him do a what I'll call a non-premium brainstorm here, or perhaps a Thought Scour. But if he does do the brainstorm, it's about being bound by mana and being willing to take a less good brainstorm for the sake of filling up the graveyard since you're bound by time. That's if he does it. Sometimes you do a less optimal play because it's simply good enough and you only have so much time.
Right.
Let's see what he has. Is it just going to be untap draw? Or is he going to do something at end of turn? Just untap draw. Tropical Island again, and this time we're going to see his own Mongoose. Can't quite tell if that's 6 cards in the yard or 5 cards in the yard.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Definitely, based on the way it's stacking, I'd guess 6.
Yeah, I can't quite tell. Our names are in the way.
Now, maybe if we can get your name replaced with Livingston, that would make things easier.
There we go. 7. He's got the full 7.
Oh, wow.
His Goose is fully loose. These decks are not very mana high. 7, 11, 12, 19 lands for Josh, and 19 lands for Matthew Costa. And it's a pass. Wow.
What is Josh holding here? Maybe some combination of Lightning Bolts, Tarmogoyfs?
I mean, he's choked on mana here.
Yeah, clearly.
Matt sensing weakness. I would be unsurprised by a land plus Tarmogoyf here from Matt Costa.
Yeah, that would definitely further put the pressure on.
Oh, he just even taps down and puts out a Goyf.
Oh, wow.
Letting it be exposed to a daze.
Yep, he's saying if Josh wants to daze it, well, if he draws a land, he'll still only have 1 in play.
Mana in pool, and there's the daze. And a daze back. Josh has the mana to pay for it, though.
Wow.
He pays.
And
Daze
another daze.
again.
Matt Costa taking advantage of the fact that he's not laid a land this turn.
Force of Will. Wow.
So Josh Hartwell also knows that this matchup oftentimes is just about the Tarmogoyf.
And Matt can relay a land yet.
Josh Hartwell up to 6 cards in the graveyard.
Says go.
Lightning Bolt in Matt Costa's hand, as well as a Spell Pierce. And Josh Hartwell just needs a fetch land, just needs a Ponder, a Brainstorm, anything here. A Lightning Bolt. Fork Bolt targeting Matt Costa. Well, it's not a Ponder, but it'll have to do. Threshold achieved.
That's achievement unlocked. In for 6. Suddenly Matt Costa's attack not looking quite as exciting.
Right. Now Costa, though, drawing another Mongoose for this turn.
And that shuts down the ability of Josh Hartwell just to have the pure advantage on the aggressive side of things here.
Right.
So now Goose versus Goose. I believe we've got 11 to 12 life. I'm not sure. It might be 11 to 15.
I think it's
a little less than that even.
Yep, we'll get the correct life totals
9,
for you.
yeah, for the fork bolt.
Right.
-2.
Right.
Now, one thing to remember, this deck also has Lightning Bolt. So Matt, now within range of just a couple of bolts. This is not at that stage of the game yet, but that stage of the game can come surprisingly quickly.
Right. And, you know, it's surprising how quickly this Rug Delver deck can put together the required number of burn spells. With all its Ponders, Brainstorms. So Matt Costa has to pass the turn. He cannot attack right now. If Josh was at 12, that would be another story, because that would be 2 swings.
We see a second land from Josh Hartwell now, passing back. No particularly shocking cards on either of these lists in the main. The closest you have to that is the 1 main deck Scavenging Ooze, which is merely uncommon rather than particularly rare. We see a Brainstorm from Matt Costa, a Spell Pierce. Matt Costa can potentially pay for that Brainstorm, but in doing so he'll have to fetch with Scalding Tarn, and then basically reduce the effectiveness of that Brainstorm. Rather than do that, I think he's going to Pierce back.
Yeah, it looks like it. He knows he has to shuffle some cards away here. And can't take the risk that the Brainstorm doesn't draw him into a shuffle effect. So Pierce on the stack. Is Josh Hartwell thinking of piercing back?
These kind of decision trees that are happening for both of these players are part of the reason why I think this Rug Delver mirror, one of the best mirrors when it comes to a skill-determining mirror.
Yeah, definitely.
Daze. Wow. And we see Matt Costa then fetch.
So Matt gets to fetch. He will, on this Brainstorm, have to have no shuffle effect. Fetches up a Volcanic Island. And Josh will shuffle that deck. Matt Costa about to pay 1 here.
There's the pay. Brainstorm finally hits.
Spell Pierce.
Oh, wow. Force.
Matt Costa will have to draw these cards for the next 2 turns.
And this was the point of Josh's fight here, is to make that Brainstorm much more anemic.
Exactly. Just make it simply into a Dream Cache. Josh can just say go. He only has 1 land, no access to green mana.
And Matt passes. There's the green. Ponder. If Matt has the Spell Pierce, this is not an unreasonable place to play it. Does not.
You know, it's a little surprising to me that he taps his green mana for that. I'm not sure what utility Lightning Bolt has right now.
The cards stay on top. Josh draws one of them.
Josh trying to decide whether to keep or to shuffle these away. What order to put them in. And you know, Ponder and Standard, not that hard of a card to play. Still has its nuances, but Ponder and Legacy, very hard card to play. Like you were saying, so many different decision trees, so many different paths that these players can take. It really gives me a headache to watch a Delver Mirror.
I love it. Josh passes back.
Very interesting.
And Matt passes back.
It's the good kind of headache.
Now, this is one of the things that's so shocking, right? We see these two decks typically so aggressive, getting to the point where they're just saying go to each other because they simply cannot attack. And we have a Wasteland on Matt Costa's last green source that he has in play. Matt puts mana in pool. Josh casting a Fork Bolt.
Matt's face. Matt down to 6. Which is importantly double bolt range.
And Matt's like, you know what? I am too low for that to be acceptable.
Yeah, he knows that any future lightning bolts might not be able to be spell pierced. Josh
and we
might
give
have
a
free
pass.
land.
I think I just saw him draw a Nimble Mongoose, but now has no green. I'm not sure about that, though. And they look through each other's graveyard to see what they've got there. We see the count. I think Josh is checking how many tropical islands Matt Costa might have left.
Yeah, I think he's gone through 2. Is that right?
I am uncertain. The graveyard stacked up as it is. Oh my goodness, Wasteland from Matt
Wow.
Costa. Another tropical island down. Another tropical island down.
Josh Hartwell, 4 Trops in the deck. Matt Costa, 4 Trops in the deck. Josh, though, has access to 1 Taiga.
And we got the staring contest right now. Lightning Bolt in Matt Costa's hand. Force of Will, and I don't know what that last card is.
Yep, me neither. So if Matt can get his opponent down to 8...
Oh,
ooh,
Delver,
wow.
not long for this world.
No. That's going to have to be Lightning Bolted.
Oh, he's got... Perhaps he could wait a moment on it.
Right.
He's thinking, though, does he want to do it now? He's like, no, maybe I'll draw something better. Maybe a Forked Bolt will show up. That's a Goose, though. Draws a Goose. And here we see the Bolt on the Delver before anything goes wrong.
Interesting that I think we've seen 1 Tarmogoyf from both players total.
Shuffled away.
Yeah.
Couldn't get it out without having anything go wrong. Matt Costa casting the other one that we saw, and that losing a Counterspell War over it. A very hard-fought Counterspell War.
Right.
If you're just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan. I'm joined by Zach Hall. We're here in Worcester, Massachusetts. Another Wasteland. Is that 4 Wastelands from Josh?
I think it has to be at this point.
These decks are only running 19 mana.
Only 7 mana producing lands, too.
Well, I mean, Wasteland produces mana for a little while.
Sure.
A couple seconds. And Matt, I believe, having drawn here a fetch land.
Yeah, he might just be holding this, though, until he draws a Tarmogoyf, depending on how many Wastelands left in Josh's deck.
I mean, remember, Josh and Matt do not have the benefit of knowing whether the other person is running Stifle or not.
Right.
Not unless they've talked to each other. And Matt testing the waters. Do you have the Stifle? Josh tells him no.
Says no. So at this point, Matt Costa probably suspects that there are no Stifles in Josh's deck. Stifle's usually a 4-0 type of card. I would heavily discount it if I'm Matt Costa right now. So the board right now, Josh Hartwell, Volcanic Island, 2 Nimble Mongooses. Matt Costa, Volcanic, Tropical, 3 Nimble Mongooses. Mongoose.
Goose, 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 and 1 coming through. Trying to push in some damage here now.
Yeah, Matt Costa entering the red zone for the first time since about turn 4 or so, turn 6. And that's the amazing thing about these Delver Mirrors, these Rug Delver Mirrors. Even though we're on turn 10 or 12, these players still only have 3 or 5 permanents in play.
Think about the different tenor this game would have taken if Matt had cast the Tarmogoyf before combat when he had the 1 goose versus the 2 small geese.
Right.
He would have had 6 more life right now, and perhaps when he had 2 goose versus 2 goose, he might have actually decided, based on his hand, to attack. But because of that, he had to be on defense. And now he's finally able to be back on the attack now that he has a third goose out.
This is true. Or even imagine if Matt Costa didn't cast a Tarmogoyf, then his opponent could not cast Force of Will, could not cast Daze. He'd still be at 4 threshold. Not right now, but after those few turns.
We see our first goose trade.
Now Matt Costa has to feel good about that, being at 7 life.
Lightning bolt to the face.
Wow. Little does he know, though, Matt Costa sitting on 2 Force of Wills. So Josh Hartwell.
What you got, he says. Let's look.
Threshold? Yeah, probably. Probably threshold at this point.
I see a Force of Will in Josh Hartwell's hand.
Says go.
Matt Costa only 2 burn spells away from death. And look at this. Matt Costa.
Lightning
Bolts.
bolt to the face.
Go to 9.
Sort of an odd game. Only 1 Delver of Secrets between each player, so these lightning bolts just slowly accumulating in these players' hands.
Is that triple Force of Will in Matt Costa's hand?
It might be 3, yeah.
I don't think he has enough blue spells for all of them, but I do think that's triple Force.
Yeah.
And now we have Matt Costa tapped down in this state. Josh is saying, hang on a second, bolt you.
Matt Costa has to Force of Will this. Otherwise, all these forces are dead cards.
Wow. Wow. What do you... He's thinking Force Toss Force or Force Toss... Was there another blue spell in there?
I don't think so.
I don't think I saw a Spell Pierce. I don't think I saw a Daze. Both of those would do the job and might be an instant auto cast. I think it's Force Cast Force. There it is.
Yeah.
Down to 3, still dead to a bolt.
He is, of which there's only 1 left in Josh's deck, I believe.
Oh, but look at this. Josh. Thinking about forcing back.
Yeah. Matt Costa now at 3 life. He says, okay. If you got it, you got it.
Are you dead? Are you dead? I'm dead.
Wow.
This game, I think, turned on that attack. He had 2 geese that were small facing him down, and they had only 5 cards in the graveyard, and he goes, attack with my big goose, take 3, go to, I want to say, I think 13, some fairly high number.
Yeah, pretty high.
And then on the swing back, then he cast the Tarmogoyf. The Tarmogoyf, major counterspell war, and then suddenly 8 damage from out of nowhere that were unexpected from a Forked Bolt, plus the now 3/3 geese.
Right, I don't mind so much attacking with the Nimble Mongoose. I mind casting that Tarmogoyf, period. Because it was pretty obvious. Josh, who only had a tropical island, could not fill his graveyard up. He'd passed.
Now that's the kind of crazy thing, right? If we remember that counterspell war, Matt Costa, up on mana, against an opponent who's down on mana, has a bigger attacking force, and decides to cast Tarmogoyf with Daze, Force of Will backup.
Right.
And perhaps, I'm going to say perhaps loses the game because of that decision. Now, at the same time, for that to work out, Josh absolutely had to know to start turning burn towards Matt's face.
Yeah, the 2 crucial Fork Bolts, one of which Matt Costa spell pierced. So Matt knew even then that he had to aggressively defend his life total. So looking to these players' sideboards, we already mentioned a few of the cards. Matt Costa will be bringing in Mind Harnesses. He'll be bringing in
Submerge times 4.
Right, that's a ton of submerges.
Only 3 in Josh's list.
Yep. 1 life from the loam, too.
Yes. Other side of the table, 3 submerge from Josh Hartwell, and 1 Scavenging Ooze likely to come in, And I think that that might be it unless he chooses to bring in Dismember, which is a very risky card in this kind of matchup.
Yeah.
It can kill a Tarmogoyf, absolutely the case. But for life, we saw how crucial those last points of life were in this matchup.
Yeah, exactly. With Forked Bolts being Spell Pierced when they're going to the face, there's no way that 4 life isn't a very risky proposition. So that game took about 25 minutes. They're going to have to hurry if they want to finish 3 games here.
Now, this is one of the reasons that there are certain mirrors that are so interesting. Compare this kind of dance that happened between these two players to what we've seen in other kinds of mirrors. The Reanimate mirror had a similar really interesting dance in that so many important things could swing on small decisions. And partly that's the fight over cards like Ponder, the fight over cards like Brainstorm. Even fights in order to make Brainstorm still resolve, and yet simply not have a fetch land go along with them.
Right. Matt Costa had those 3 Force of Wills in his hand at the end of the game because of Josh's willingness to fight over that Brainstorm. He would have been able to shuffle at least 1 or 2 of those away. Force of Will is a card that it has its place in this matchup, but a lot of times it's not the card you want at all. A lot of times you want anything but a Force of Will. Which is part of the frustrating thing about these Delver mirrors, is that so many of the cards are so good at certain times, but so dead at other times. Both players stoic. Matt Costa, of course, coming off a top 4 finish in yesterday's Standard Open. We saw him lose this morning. He would love to have a repeat weekend here. Double top 8. Matt Costa will be on the play for this game. He's drawing his 7 right now. And we'll see if he likes him. There's a Red Blast, but he has to maul. I think that had 1 land. And in a matchup where Wasteland is so key, you can't keep a 1-lander without Ponder and Brainstorm. And even then, it's risky.
I think we see a victorious Reed Duke walking up.
Oh, Reed Duke moves to X0-1. He played Darwin Castle this round.
No!
That means Darwin Castle X0-1.
X1-1, actually.
X1-1. Reed Duke X0-1. So as Josh Hartwell shuffles Costa's deck. Oh, there we go. That was fast. And that looks like a keeper for Matt Costa. Turn 1 Nimble Mongoose for Costa.
Nimble Mongoose, a card that's very good early, but can easily be outclassed.
Right. In fact, it usually is by all the Tarmogoyfs running around, but that last game was a little strange. We saw only 1 attempted to get cast and none enter play. Delver from Josh. Matt fires back with a main phase Brainstorm.
Best kind of Brainstorm,
Oh,
main
yeah.
phase Brainstorm.
I agree.
A lot of people don't realize that that is, generally speaking, the best kind. Perhaps better yet is the end of turn with a fetch land out, but it just happens so infrequently with the amount of times that you have that opportunity, just with timing, the way that the spells are playing out, the opportunity to have another cheap spell come out on your own turn.
Right, plus you can dig 1 card deeper if you just draw a card. And do it on your main.
Well, you have the same digging power if you do it EOT and then fetch at the same EOT.
I suppose you see it, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same digging power.
Yeah, you do see the same amount of cards. You're right. So Josh Hartwell fails to flip his Delver.
Wasteland.
And we'll see what he does with that 1 mana. Turns out nothing, keeping Spell Pierce up.
Fetch. Matt waits to see if Josh says it's okay. Josh gives him the wave of the hand. Go ahead.
Yep. Both players still posturing Stifle a little bit.
Now remember, Submerge, as great as it is, does require a forest be in play in order to get the free Submerge powers.
It does. And as we see with this game, it can sometimes be tough to keep a Trop in play.
I mean, last game, it was almost impossible for either of them to have a tropical island out for more than a moment.
Yeah, they went through 5 or 6 wastelands between them.
3 Moon Ponder.
That will resolve. Matt seeing Fetch Land, Dual Land, and another card which he's about to draw. Tarmogoyf. There's one of them. Josh Hartwell looks for his Delver. What is it? It's a Wasteland. Not what he's looking for. Each Wasteland he uses brings Matt Costa a little closer to Threshold. And Josh Hartwell not really giving us a peek of his hand there. Very tough to see.
Despondent Jim Davis and Gerard Fabiano walk by. I'm actually not sure if they won or lost, but they didn't look smiley.
No.
Jim Davis, Goblin Master.
If you're just joining us right now, I'm Zach Hall, joined by Adrian Sullivan in the booth here.
Hello, hello.
And we are coming to you live from round 6 of 9, Star City Open in Worcester.
Go ahead.
You're watching Matt Costa on the right and Josh Hartwell on the left. Game 2.
You can see the blasts that Matt Costa has in here. Red Elemental Blast in effect. And one of the things to look at with this, Force of Will, as we talked about before, definitely a costly card. It's not uncommon for Force of Will to get chopped when it comes to this matchup. We see, oh my goodness gracious, that was just crazy. A Thought Scour, Life from the Loam revealed by Matt Costa.
Wow.
I wonder if it's ready yet. He just goes for the draw.
Nope.
Mind Harness also revealed. Josh is, if he knows his legacy, he'll know what Mind Harness does. Blue, control a green or a red creature, and it has cumulative upkeep of 1 to keep that creature.
Right.
The Goose comes in. Aggro Goose.
Yep, Matt now with Threshold. Josh Hartwell will need a Thought Scour to have Threshold.
Hey, here's my Thought Scour.
Proposing the trade.
Will Matt use a precious Red Elemental Blast to stop it, or will he allow a trade? Allowed. And there goes Josh's only Scavenging Ooze. No Scavenging Oozes available now for Josh for this game, and that Life from the Loam will start doing its work later. Goose trades with Goose. And Tarmogoyf with 1 mana available from a Scalding Tarn that remains unsacked.
Oh, wow. And Josh Hartwell just has to say, oh, no, hasn't even drawn yet. There we go. Does not flip his Delver again. I think that's 3 turns in a row now. He cannot find an instant.
One of the amusing things about this matchup, once there's a forest in play, fetch lands carry the unusual risk of shuffling away your creatures, as a submerge might happen in response to a fetch.
Right.
Goyf v Goyf.
Yep, Josh Hartwell careful to leave Daze mana up here.
Untap for Matt Costa. Leaving his Life from the Loam in the yard for now.
Matt's going to try and find a wasteland first before he starts taking out Josh's lands, or before he's able to. The Goyfs are 5/6s right now, thanks to that Mind Harness. Fetch land for Matt. Tarmogoyf number 2 comes down.
Players in the standard seal. Your appearance for round 2 have now been posted. Please find your seats.
And a pass. Fetch land. Misty Rainforest in play for Josh Hartwell. Tap, tap. Goyf.
Wow.
Remember the staring contest we saw game 1? Once again, a staring contest.
Yeah, this is now just basically waiting until Josh Hartwell flips that Delver. Then Matt Costa will have to answer it.
Only 2 cards here for Matt Costa. Just draws, does not dredge. Submerge. Red Elemental Blast, I think, and Daze? I'm not 100% sure about that hand. Daze, yes, Daze. Passes the turn. And does Delver flip? No.
Wow. Still no flip for Josh Hartwell. He has to be getting a little annoyed at this point. His deck is half instants.
33 instants and sorceries in the deck. Goyf number 3. Delver number 2.
Oh, and this board is just so clogged right now. Matt Costa trying to fight over it with the Daze.
Mana, Daze. Okay, look at this. Response to the sacrifice. We see that Submerge play we were talking about before. The Daze plus Submerge effectively killing a Tarmogoyf. That land is fetched. Boom. These are fairly large Goyfs, 5/6. We see the unusual Taiga, a one of for Josh Hartwell. In order to fit this Taiga into his deck, he has cut down to 3 volcanic islands. Actually, that's pretty common. Let's see, how does he get that in there? 1 less fetch land, 1 less scalding turn.
Okay, so same number of lands. He just has changed him up a little bit. So Matt Costa showing Josh Hartwell his submerges. Josh had to know they were probably there, but that's a little confirmation. Oh, and a Pyroblast flips both Delvers. And there they go. 3/2 flyers, 3/2 flyers, 2 of them. And I believe we're still in the upkeep phase right now. Matt Costa is trying to decide.
Oh, there we come.
There we go.
Or Lightning Bolt.
1 Delver down.
I like how Josh Hartwell does his Delvers. That's one of my preferred ways to do it.
Better than switching up the sleeve all the time.
Yeah.
I just like having it on the Insectile Aberration side.
Matt takes 3 in the air. Pyroblast, or I should say Red Elemental Blast, still in Matt's hand.
Attention Magic players, I need 1 more person to fill the last commander pile.
Red Elemental Blast.
Trying to deal with these flyers, and yep, both of them are down. Now it's just Tarmogoyf versus Tarmogoyf. Both players with 4 lands. Matt Costa, though, life from the loam in the graveyard, so whenever he draws a wasteland, he can start cutting Josh Hartwell off of green mana.
Matt Costa, clearly aware of the submerge interaction with fetch lands,
Right.
has been so cautious to not sacrifice those. Hands close to his chest, not quite sure what he's got there. Looks like a pass. Staring contest.
Even though Josh Hartwell added a Nimble Mongoose, he still can't attack.
Ponder. Josh feels to me, even though there's that life from there, feels like he's in really good shape. He's got more manipulation going on, and Matt, what's he gonna do? Pyro, Red Elemental Blast, this Ponder.
Yep, understands how important the deck manipulation is.
I think we're gonna see a pass from Josh after this. Go.
And as the minutes wind down here in the round, Matt Costa has to do
Oh,
something.
that's a good point.
He has about 8 minutes left with that extension, maybe 9.
Pass, pass, pass. Land, land, go, 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 go.
Yeah.
Another land.
And we're almost at the point in the game where players can hardcast Force of Will if they still have them in their deck.
It's very unlikely that there's a Force of Will left for either of these players.
Right.
Josh Hartwell here on the left, contemplating what to do on his turn, taking a pause after his draw, so something might have happened, or at least he's trying to be read as though something has happened.
Yeah, Josh Hartwell not giving much away there. Thinking through all his options. Wow, an attack. This might signify a Fork Bolt. This might signify a Lightning Bolt.
Now the risk here, obviously, the double block from Goyf Goyf on a Goyf, will do 8 damage to Matt Costa if Matt chooses to eliminate one of the Goyfs. That's what he's going to. He's going to take 8. And
Blocking
Goyf,
order, 1-2.
yep, Goyf down, take 8, go to 7. And then Matt's Goyf's still around. We see a burn of some kind. Bolt a Goyf. Yep, bolt a Goyf.
Yep, so Goyf's trade, but Matt Costa takes a lot of damage in the meantime.
A 2-for-1 for Matt at the cost of 8 life.
Right. And Matt just sitting with 2 lands in hand right now, has no more action. Josh Hartwell just firmly in the driver's seat. Matt Costa really, he drew 1 Brainstorm and 0 Ponders this game. Just has no deck manipulation.
Now, if Josh wants to, he can throw away this Nimble Mongoose for 5 damage by attacking with both of these creatures.
Yeah.
Now, that assumes that Matt doesn't do anything sneaky, like I have a Submerge. And again, Matt does it. He takes the 5, goes to 2, kills the goose.
Yep, and we'll see if Josh Hartwell has a burn spell.
Gotcha,
He does.
yeah.
That's the game.
I mean, Josh trading away cards for damage, and Matt Costa, lots of land, nothing else to do. 2-0 for Josh Hartwell over Matt Costa.